And in continuing with our theme of talking about equine health, we're going to focus today on colic specifically. I know that we have talked about colic briefly in our past videos, but I'm going to go into it today in a little bit more depth because it is so common in horses. It is actually the #1 medical reason for death in horses. So I always like to preface my videos by saying that although I'm an equine professional, I am not a veterinarian, so I always like to do a little bit of research to make sure I give you all of the correct information. So what is colic? Colic is the #1 medical cause of death in horses, like I said before, and it's a term used to describe abdominal pain, which has a very broad range. It can indicate a problem with the gut itself or other organs within the abdomen. And there are many causes ranging from simple indigestion to a twisted gut. Horses have a very long intestinal tract that can very easily be twisted or impacted. So catching colic early is so important, and it gives your horse the best chance of survival. And this is why we talk about always being aware of how our horse is feeling, checking in on our horses every day, and laying eyes on our horses every day. So signs of colic in a horse. They could include restlessness, pawing at the ground, and really general changes in the horse's behavior, like not eating. So not eating that day could have many reasons, but when they're compared with other signs of colic, that's when you want to be proactive. Sweating and increased breathing rate. I know we have talked about monitoring their vitals, so that's always important. Irritated and kicking at their stomach. It's also important to be able to tell the difference between kicking at their stomach that might have had a fly on it and repetitive kicking at their stomach, especially if there's no flies around. Stretching as if they're going to urinate. Rolling or attempting to roll, which would be different than when the horses get a bath and we take them out to the field and they instantly roll to itch their back. It's usually a very, they drop themselves to the ground and they roll and they get up and then they do it again. It's pretty easy to tell whether they're rolling for fun or rolling because they're uncomfortable. Elevated pulse rate, no manure in their stall. If there's an impaction or gas colic, the manure isn't going to be able to pass through. So manure is a sign that the horse is healthy, and horses poop a lot per day, 50 pounds per day to be exact. So if they're not having regular manure in their stalls, there's a sign that something's wrong. And manure is also a sign that the horse is feeling better after a bout of colic. And no gut sounds. So that sounds a little funny, but literally to tell whether a horse has gut sounds, you put your ear up to their stomach like this. And I heard gut sounds right away, but if you don't hear 3 to 5 gut sounds per minute, then there could be something wrong. Your horse could be colicking. Why are horses so susceptible to colic? And the answer is, as horses have evolved, they're on a different diet in most of today's world than they were or than they eat in the wild. And the manner in which horses eat and the time they spend eating has changed considerably over the years. Even a horse living on grass every day eats a different diet from its ancestors. So for the domesticated horse, his intestines have not evolved to meet these changes, and as a consequence, he is more susceptible to colic. So a horse's digestion involves fermentation, which is a byproduct. A byproduct of that is gas, which can easily distend the gut and cause gas colic. And horses cannot throw up like people or dogs can. So they can't get rid of toxins in their stomach or indigestible food. Natural feeding habits mean that the nature designed the horse to be on the move, grazing constantly. And the horse eats large quantities of low energy food throughout the day, typically spending as many as 16 hours a day grazing on grass. Today's management of horses often indicates 2 feeds a day of hard feed, which would mean pelleted feed, rationed hay and stabling for up to 8 hours without exercise or food. This is very common in show barns, barns with many, many horses that are on a turnout schedule. Sometimes those horses only get 2 to 3 hours of turnout a day. So those horses will definitely be more susceptible to colic. This change from the natural and ideal situation means that horses can react to any added stress in their lifestyle, which is often the cause of colic. I would like to point out that CTRS horses, and I know we've said this in the past, CTRS horses live outside 24/7. Unless they're working and they come inside for a riding lesson, they're outside. Rain, shine, storm, you'll see later that the horses were out in a rainstorm. That is the best thing for them to be constantly moving, constantly grazing. Our horses only also get 1 hard feed of grain a day, except for Captain, who has other nutritional needs. They don't need any more than that. And because of that, CTR horses have a pretty good track record for not getting colic, knock on wood. So as far as risk factors of colic, if a horse has digestive disorders such as tooth problems, or if they have worms or gut damage, which could include previous colic surgery, a poor feeding regime of soiled food, inappropriate quantities, like if they eat a lot of grain that they don't need, lack of fiber, and or lack of a constant access to water. Horses need constant access to water to prevent colic. And also a sudden change in their diet can cause colic. Stress, such as hard exercise, especially if they're in their training routine and all of a sudden you exercise them very heavily, that can make them more prone to colic. And poor or overgrazed pasture as well. So preventing colic, a constant supply of fresh water, like I said, that's probably the #1 thing. Small and frequent feeds. Plan a diet of high fiber food. Ensure the feed is good quality. There's no hazards or baling twine. A lot of times in a bale of hay, you'll find baling twine or old machinery kind of trapped in that hay. You want to make sure they always have a cooling off period after they work out, and ensure appropriate deworming schedule, like we've talked about in another segment, and allow as much turnout time outside as possible. Okay, so what do you do if your horse is showing signs of colic? You want to remove feed and hay from the horse. They should not eat until signs of colic have passed. Check that the horse is in a safe area, free from hazards. Walk the horse for 15 to 20 minutes at a time to keep their gut moving and try and move things along. And watch the horse closely and call a vet if you are in any doubt of how the horse is doing. So at this time, we are going to pause the video and we are going to show you what we do, especially with Sally here, who has been prone to gas colic in the past. We're going to show you what typically works for her.
Okay, we're paused.
Okay, so Sally has had several bouts of gas colic, which luckily were not too serious. And in order to make sure that she was doing okay and to get the gas to pass, we walked her. We even put baking soda and water in a 2-liter bottle of soda, and we sort of shoved it down her throat because that baking soda kind of breaks up the gas and gets things moving a little bit. And the other thing that for some reason always works is putting Sally on the horse trailer. It's like she gets excited that she's going somewhere and it makes things move right along. So Molly's gonna come in and show how we put Sally on the trailer and what happens after that. Circle around here. Try that again. We're not going up.
again. We'll give her one more time. Come on. Come on.
Go behind her, Megan. Drive her from the room.
Come on. We're gonna just shut the door so that she can't get out. Not all horses want to get on the trailer. Most of them don't, yeah. We're just gonna give her a minute. Okay, so Sally's been trapped in the trailer for a few minutes. I think she went. I think it worked like a charm, like it always does. We're gonna open this and see if she left us something. Sure enough, it works like a charm. Every time. Oh, Sally.
That's not how you get off a trailer. Not going in. No, we're not going in.
All right, so we're gonna pause for a moment and take Sally back to the barn. Oh, did you get a close-up of her presents that she left there?
No colic there.
She is surely not colicking right now, which is great news. All right, let's pause and head back to the barn. All right, so you saw one of our tricks to getting a horse to pass manure and get things moving. It's great, especially when they have something like gas colic. And in many cases, treatment is possible for colic at home. In this case, when Sally had gas colic, after we put her on the trailer, she went to the bathroom. So that night, we knew she was okay. We kept her inside with water and just a little bit of hay, and we just monitored her overnight, which is what you would do in most cases. For moderate cases of colic, the vet may administer drugs to relieve pain and relax the muscles so that things get moving a little easier. It helps the gut to start working properly. You always want to monitor your horse's progress and vitals and keep your vet in the loop. In more serious cases that do not respond to the initial treatment, your vet may recommend surgery, which would involve transporting the horse to a local equine hospital. And if you know that your horse has a history of colic, you want to be extra vigilant in all areas of your horse's routine and management. So this was just a quick breakdown of colic. There's many more things that we could talk about, but it's something as a horse person that you should know about.